Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Politics live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbalo in Lagos. Yesterday, the world marked the International Workers' Day. Nigerian workers, too, were not left out in that celebration, although the occasion is on a low key in some Nigerian states because of security situation. The workers over the years have continued to push for better welfare across federal and state levels, especially for the implementation of the new national minimum wage and other demands. Many state governments across the country are yet to begin implementation of the new national minimum wage. The Nigerian Labour Congress, the NLC, is threatening mass industrial action if the proposed bill, which seeks to transfer minimum wage to the concurrent list, is passed by the National Assembly. NLC President Ayuba Waba said that workers in Kaduna will withdraw their services for 5 days in protest over the sacking of workers by the state governor. Largely in Nigeria, issues of minimum wage, emoluments, pensions are very major and stand out on day like this. But beyond that are also the issues of unemployment, quality of jobs, inflation, and what have you. Tonight, we have the Minister of Employment and Labor, Senator Chris Ngige, to discuss some of these issues. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for joining us tonight on the program. It was a day where yesterday I saw you at that event at the Eagle Square where you spoke to the workers. There are a lot of issues that have come to the fore, and part of what may be of worry to you, I know, because of the sleepless nights that you have faced in past weeks, is we're in the 5th month of the year, and we have seen numbers of workers strike, from JUSU to ASU to ASUP, resident doctors, NAD, name it. How do you explain this sort of scenario?
Shell, thank you. And our viewers, I salute you on Workers' May Day celebration. The celebration started yesterday. It will continue till Monday, because Monday is the day the Nigerian government officially declared the public holidays. Shegu, to be just concise and straight to your question, why all this spate of industrial unrest, ASU, NASU, resident doctors, and the rest of them? The cardinal thing, the overriding denominator in all these demands and agitation is for more money, more pay. It's economic. The times are hard, yes. Prices of goods and services have gone up, yes. And so all these are factors that make for the well-being of the average worker. So they now remember that in 2009, they signed an agreement with the Jonathan government saying that they will pay X, Y, Z, and that the government at the time didn't pay it then. And so today, because the pockets or the earning power or purchasing power have not been very, very adequate, they remember some people are owing them. And the major is the government. But it's not all that bad as such, because I normally tell the workers, government is a continuum, we all agree. But these monies, these allowances, were owed you 2009, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The Buhari administration was born. And when this administration came, by some coincidence, prices of oil in the world market pommeled, went down from $100 a barrel to $30, $35, $40, and even in most recent times during the COVID, $15 a barrel. And at one time, no buyers at all. So this period also, militancy in the Niger Delta, burst of pipelines, and the rest of them all, the production, exportable production for Nigeria, Pumeled again, nosedive from $2.5 million a day to 1 million barrels. At a point, 700,000. So these are factors that have played out. Low revenue received from government in terms of oil, which is the mono product for our economy. And so government went to work. Diversification, farming, so that we can eat whatever we produce, lowering of imports, and the rest of them. And that is how government have remained afloat. But even with that, in 2016, we had to go into a recession. Came out from the recession very quickly, 2017, and as we are talking about full recovery and full growth, COVID-19 came. So between this period from 2015 down, coming to now that we are talking, our revenue receipt is nothing to write home about. That is why government had to go into borrowing to do capital works, to do the railways, to do our roads, to even finance portions of agriculture so that our people can get what they can eat. Airports, to renovate all our airports. The things we use in the airports are dollarized. The equipment, you get them in foreign currency. So this is where we are. And so this government, in fact, President Buhari and his government have done what Napoleon could not do. I'm telling you, not because I'm part of this government. I am really amazed that we're able to weather this storm and still fulfill so many of the obligations. Some of those monies and allowances owed them, we're paying. We're paying.
Minister,
we have been paying the university lecturers.
Yeah. So
we have
Minister,
been paying the resident doctors.
Minister, you began the conversation around what the Jonathan government, the agreement he made with workers. Are you blaming partly that government on what we are experiencing with workers?
Of course I am. They entered an agreement in 2009, and they negotiated it in 2013, especially in the education sector, with ASU, NASU, and all those education sector workers. The university lecturers said, apart from paying us what they call end academic allowances, because we are teaching more than we're supposed to do, we are carrying more workload, so give us more. They agreed. They didn't employ more teachers. If you employ more teachers, you won't owe these other people because the load will be spread. They also entered an agreement to pay them 220 billion naira every year for 5 years for revitalization of the university system. It was only paid once in that 2013. And even that one paid, the 200 billion they paid was taken from a TET fund. So when we came, they held on to that agreement and said we should be paying them 220 billion every year for the next 5 years. And we looked at the agreement and we said, there is no way we can pay you this. We don't even have the resources to pay it. But let us fashion ways with which we can continue.
So that
and that's what we did.
Okay,
so that to be frank with you, yes, the government had enough money. They earned plenty. They earned $100 a day on each barrel times 2.5 million times 30 times 12. How much does it come to?
All right. You're talking about what has happened in the past. So let's talk about what is happening presently and what the
is happening now is $30 a barrel times $1 million, 1 million barrels a day, times 30 days, times 12.
Okay, so,
One
Minister,
third. We're earning 1/3 of that government end. Even, well, it's not up to 1/3. 1/3.
so, Minister,
33%.
let me ask you, the federal government, under the Buhari government, recently, about 3 years ago, promised to provide 100 million jobs in 10 years. We are 2 years into that timeline. If you do the math, that's 10 million jobs yearly. The Buhari government is expected to provide at least 40 million because 4 years to be spent in that timeline. Out of that 100 million, to provide about 40 million in the 100 million. So, Honorable Minister, can you tell us how many of those jobs have been provided in the last 2 years?
Well, Seun, it will be very difficult to be a tall order to go and give you a number that will not be very correct. But what I can tell you is that that number you are quoting, I don't know, I'm not too sure Mr. President said he will give 100 million jobs. Maybe you are mixing it up with lifting 100 million persons out of
Lifting
poverty.
100 million people out of poverty in 10 years. Yes, that's the promise.
Yes. So we're working on that. Part of that reduction in poverty is job creation and providing jobs, providing entrepreneurship, giving the low of the low, the lowly vulnerable, lifting them out of poverty by direct cash transfers, which we call conditional cash transfer. We are doing that. The Ministry of Humanitarian Resources are trying. The problem was that when the thing started, the records we had in Nigeria was a World Bank-assisted record. That record wasn't very, very correct. It was a record that we received from the previous government, and we tried to make it look good, but it became very difficult because a lot of matching needed to be done. So we moved into BVN, we moved into national identity numbers. So with that, you can be able to get a figure that will be accurate, a register that you can call an authentic register. And I'm very happy that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, they have taken the bull by the horns. Today, that other register, that conditional cash register, have been fine-tuned. We now have genuine people on them. And it has moved from the original 2 million persons, 2 million households we have there, to 7.6 million households, which, when you multiply by 4, translates to about 30 million persons. After COVID-19 came, we decided again, as a government, that we have to do what we call rapid response register. Because COVID-19 was a rapid attack phenomenon, health phenomenon. So this rapid response register, again, have moved from 1 million, which government promised. Today, the report I got from that office is that they are at about 4.8 million. And in this net, we've captured the urban poor. The urban poor. Because there are a lot of people that are in the urban area that are poor. If you go to Gwagwalada, Mararaba, Kubua, and the rest of them near Abuja, you will see what we call urban poor. If you go to Lagos, you go to Moshilashi, you go to K2, you also capture the urban poor. People are there. So today, the register has gotten 4.8 million households. If you multiply that one again by 4, you can see we're talking about 18 million to 20 million persons. So I think we are making making giant strides.
Okay, so
bold steps in that direction.
In this explanation that you have made, Honorable Minister, is still there is still a major problem because you're mentioning all of this effort, but the figures are tending towards the opposite direction. The NBS figure of the fourth quarter says that unemployment rate has grown from 27.1 to 33%, making Nigeria stand out badly in world ranking out of unemployed youths in the world. I mean, are you worried that you say you're making this effort and the figures are not complementing what you're doing?
No, Shegu, you are mixing the two things again. You see, unemployment is a different kettle of fish. I agree with you that unemployment and poverty are interwoven. We have not offered everybody employment because government alone cannot do it. Private sector components are supposed to be there. What the government actually is supposed to do is to create the enabling environment for employment. So government have decided now to go and attack poverty through the back door. By the same extension, you are tackling unemployment. We want to get these people. We have already 30 million captured on the register, 7.6 million households, 4.8 million urban poor households. If you combine the two, you're talking about getting nearly 50 million. We are going to start payments. In fact, payments should start any moment from now. No matter how small the money is, 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever it is, you give it to them. You have alleviated some problems for that family. This is irrespective of whatever government is also doing in terms of 774,000 jobs. That's 1,000 per local government for 3 months in the first instance, 20,000 for the youths that are captured there is something again. This is irrespective of the conditional support program being done by Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industries for youths again. There are so many programs there. And by that program, we intend that at least we are going to touch about 30 million youths. Ministry of Youth and Sports, there is also 75 billion fund to run for 3 years, 25 billion each year. The advert is on, enrollment is on. So these are things we want to do. You cannot remove poor people in any country. You cannot at the same time remove unemployment in any country. Even United States of America, they have unemployment and underemployment. And they're fighting it. They're even giving cash, especially with COVID. Maybe we're not as rich as United States of America, but we'll do our best. And that's what we're doing.
So is the rate and it's the disparity now that we're looking at and the growth of that figure. But let's look at some other issues, especially as to what the workers are getting. I know you mentioned the issues relating to whether to place the argument and the debate over placing the minimum wage issue in the concurrent or the exclusive list. You mentioned that yesterday. But there are states of the Federation that are not yet implementing the minimum wage. The Minimum Wage Act allows for sanctions. Are you thinking in that direction?
Why not, Shegu? Why not? Did you read the act well?
Absolutely.
If you read the act, you see the applicability of the act.
So what are you doing now?
The applicability is that all parts of the Federation, all parts is there. The applicability, Section 2. Section 3 also says 30,000 naira shall be paid. The operative word is shall. Shall doesn't give you room for picking and choosing. It's a must.
So I mean, the worry here is
the state governments that are not paying, they are breaching the law of the land.
So what are you doing
as the law?
Yeah, as the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment?
Don't worry, you will see what I will
So you have the instrument of the law.
Go and read that law.
I have the law, so that's why I'm putting the question that the Minimum Wage Act gives you that instrument of sanction. So for those states, some states are even said they cannot afford to pay. So what are you going to do in that regard?
They're you see, they're mixing apple and oranges. This minimum wage is different from a CBA, collective bargaining agreement. This is a national law that say what you pay to the lowest paid employee, worker in your establishment. State governments are employers. Private sector people, UAC, banks, and the rest of them all are private employers. All of them are in this basket. They are caught in the web of this law until repealed. So for today, any state government or employer that goes and be negotiating minimum wage, like some of them are doing with their unions, they are running foul of the law. And section 33 of the Act says anything you are doing in that direction is null and void. Any agreement you reach there is null and void.
So I wanted to know what you are going to do.
30,000 and run away. Well,
so what are you going to do?
With the Attorney General of the Federation.
Okay.
I'm negotiating with the Attorney General of the Federation. The law permits me to take them to court. It's there in the law. I can take any employer to court. If governors have immunity, I can decide and start from the Secretary to Government, Head of Service, and go down to members of the State Executive Council. Take them all to court. I can't.
Because this compliance also is not only on...
I don't need any permission.
Yes, so this compliance issue is not only state government. There are big corporations and private organizations that are flouting this act. But let's go to something that is worrisome, Minister.
The act says that once the thing comes to me, I should activate action within 30 days. That's what is in the law. So let those people bring their complaints to me.
Okay. So I'm very sure you must have had these very extreme acts by foreigners who operate in Nigeria. For example, there is an allegation that prisoners are brought to complete their term in Nigeria working in some big construction company. Have you heard about that?
Yes, I've heard about that. And I've told those who have complained, give us the facts. Write us. Between me and the Interior Minister, we know what to do.
Because this issue was raised on the floor of the House.
We don't act on hearsay.
Yeah. No, it was raised on the floor of the House. A representative from Jigawa State, Honorable Sani Zoro, raised that alarm of what is alleged importation of Chinese prisoners who are working for some foreign companies in Nigeria, and the lawmakers alleged that the Chinese prisoners were often conveyed into the country as expatriates.
You know, the legislature has its own powers. The executive will have our own powers. So this legislator, Honorable Sani Zoro, patriotic Nigerian, we thank him for what he has done, but he should move a step further. And what he has to do is to send that petition to either the Committee on Petition of the House of Representatives, or put it under a motion for urgent national importance, and the Speaker will refer it to the appropriate committee in I think, Interior. And it will be investigated. A public hearing will be called. The companies he's talking about will be mentioned, and they will be invited. Alternatively, he can write me with my Interior counterpart and state his facts. Because being in the legislature doesn't mean he cannot assess us too. He can do that. And then we'll put our own investigation. And if it's true, the people will be repatriated. They will. And they cannot take Nigerian work. If we look at even the work they are doing and is a work that is for Nigerians, that's enough.
Minister, we need to take a break on the program. The issue of the local content is another worry which you have touched on, and there are loads and loads of allegations against foreign companies who are bringing expatriates to work here. Those they term expatriate, in any case, to work here in Nigeria. But we'll take a break and we'll get our concluding moments with the Honorable Minister. Up next on the program, what is the hope of the Nigerian worker under the Buhari administration? The conversation with the Minister continues after now. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige is our guest tonight on the program. He's in our Abuja studio. Our concluding moments with the minister now. Minister, I'd like you to talk briefly on the JUSUN strike, the Judiciary Workers' Strike, which invariably has somewhat made our judiciary or the courts out of work. What is happening? When are they likely to go back to work? When are the courts likely to be reopened?
Well, Shego, the judicial workers' strike, you know that the truth of the matter is that the dialogue has not worked in the way the governors have related with their chief judges, who are the heads of court in their respective states. When I was governor, I had a very robust engagement and a very good relationship with my chief judge. We never had any problem because the Constitution says that the judiciary should be financially independent. And with the alteration in Section 121, the money is supposed to be paid to heads of court. Even from the Federation account, the NJC, they receive certain amount. And out of that amount, they still service state courts for judges that have been appointed in terms of the personnel costs and running costs. So other workers in courts in the states are paid by state governments through their judiciary. By this you mean magistrates, you mean workers in the courts, clerks, registrars, and the rest of them all that are not beneficiaries of that NJC remittance to their courts in the states. Again, there are some capital items like buying of cars, renovation of their buildings, courts and residential building, and the rest of them all. These are things state governments should do. So the alteration gave impetus and said, transmit this money to the heads of courts from Federation account as you are getting, the one that is due to your state. So what it means is that in a budget session, the judiciary should do their own budget and transmit to the State House of Assembly, of course with concurrence of the budget office of that state. Because the state must have a wholesome budget in which then the line for the judiciary will be there, and even the line for the State House of Assembly should be there. So what has happened is that there is a discussion between the Governors Forum, Office of Accountant General of the Federation, and the Ministry of Finance and the Attorney General, and the NJC. And we proposed that a state budget committee be established so that when this money now comes from the budget, you know what is due to each arm of government.
Minister, there is no hope of when, whether Monday or...
that is causing us problem.
Yeah. So there is no hope of
the two
when
issues
this
are,
are likely to end?
It's a very sensitive discussion, Shegu, because the governors made their point and said, we carry on some debts. We carry on some debts on behalf of our states. For some of these debts, we have given what we call irrevocable standing payment orders, ISPOs. So what we are ready to part with is the net after deductions of all these deductibles. And we ask, if the deductibles lands you at 0, it means then nobody gets anything after executive deductibles. That's one area. Second area, the capital votes. What should constitute this capital? Are the chief judges going to be awarding contracts? Of course, the answer is no. So these are things that should be fashioned out and discussed. Because if chief judges start working a contract, if there is a breach of agreement with a contractor, to which court will that litigation go? A court where the chief judge will now assign the case?
Minister,
So
I guess
we are looking at all this with a human face, and we are going to come out of it. This week, we are going to tackle it holistically, because the governors have taken back the proposal from the judiciary and the legislature. In fact, that of the judiciary is not going to pose any big hurdle, because already we have meeting grounds. And it is after the meeting grounds have been fully smoothened, we now sign a memorandum of agreement, memorandum of understanding.
We must leave it at that, Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige. There are a few issues. I would have loved to take you into politics, because I know there is election coming in Anambra State and a few other issues, but we're out of time. But I must sincerely thank you for coming.
No, leave it for another day.
Thank you so much, Senator Chris Ngige. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you, Sean.